So the area of any shape in the world is mainly base times height. And the only difference is in the name of the base and the name of the height. So for example, if we're talking about a rectangle, the rectangle looks like this, and we call the longer side, we call it length, and shorter side, we call it width. So where do you think is the base of the shape? Which one is the base of the shape? Length. So if the area of anything is base times height, then the area of the rectangle would be called length times, which is the height, width, correct? So the area of the rectangle is, yes, mainly its base times its height, but the difference is how it's called. Sometimes it's called length, sometimes it's called width. Same thing would apply, for example, on a square. But the square has all its sides equal to each other. And we don't call them length and width, we actually call them sides. So the area of the shape would be base times height, which is side times side, which is side square. Then if you talk about a triangle has a specific rule. It's actually half times base times height. Now, can someone tell me why is this one the only one that has half of the base?
Because the rectangle is half.
The triangle is half. Exactly. So it's half a square. Therefore, this is the area of a triangle. Now, there is a rule for the area of the equilateral triangle. It's a special rule that only works on an equilateral triangle. And why is the equilateral triangle an important one? It's because all of its sides are equal to each other. So let's say, مثلا, if this side is S, this side is S, and this side is S. Also, the height of this shape is not actually shown. The height will be a dotted line كده, perpendicular on the base. So if I need the area of a equilateral triangle, please remember that this rule only works on equilateral triangles. It's side to the power of 2 times root 3 over 4. So let's say, مثلا, you know that there is a equilateral triangle that has a side of 3. What's the area of that triangle? It's 3 to the power of 2 times root 3 over 4, which is 9 root 3 over 4. This is the area of an equilateral triangle. Is this clear so far, or is there any problem?
Not clear.
Awesome. طيب. There's one shape though that we haven't discussed. Actually, two shapes. First is the trapezoid. This one. So the trapezoid is a shape that has two bases in them. It's either the base, which is this one اللي فوق, أو the base اللي تحت. So when I say base times the height, which is the base that we're talking about? Are we talking على البيس اللي فوق, or are we talking على البيس اللي تحت? I know that this is the height, yes, but what about the base? So what we do is the following. We get the average of both bases, يعني بنعمل B1 plus B2 over 2, وبعدين نعمل ده multiplied by the height. Again, so this is the area of a trapezium or a trapezoid. It's mainly, yes, برضو base times height, but the base of this shape could be any of the two bases. ممكن يكون البيز اللي فوق القصير أو ممكن يكون البيز اللي تحت. So عشان نخلص من الموضوع ده, we actually get the average of both bases. So we do B1 plus B2 over 2, and then we multiply that by the height. For example, if we're told that this is 5, and we're told that this is 10, and we're told that the height is 3, then the trapezoid's area would be 5 plus 10 over 2, and then multiply this by the height, which is 3. That should get me the area of the trapezoid. All clear so far, correct? Right. One more shape, finally, which is the circle. Now the circle طبعا changes or does not follow all of those rules because the circle does not have any sides in it. So what is the area of the circle? the circle has an area and also has something else called the circumference. And the circumference of the circle is mainly طول الخط اللي لافف برا. The circumference is the length of the circle itself. So if for example, imagine if you stretch the circle, the length of the height of this line will be the circumference. So the circumference again is mainly the length all around this circle. While the area is the region inside. الاريا is المساحة اللي جوه كلها. So the area has a rule of pi times the r, which is the radius, to the power of 2. While the circumference has a rule of 2 times pi times r. So apparently لو أنا عايز circle, the only and the most important thing in a circle is the radius. If I know the radius, I can easily get the area or get the circumference. Let's say you have a circle like this one and you're told that the diameter of this circle, the whole diameter is 10, and you're asked to find the area.
The radius is 5.
Then the radius definitely is 5. So a radius هو نص الdiameter. Radius is 5, yes. So the area is 5 squared pi, which means it's 25 pi. This is the area of the circle. On the other hand, if I just want to get the circumference, it will be 2 pi r, which means 2 pi 5, which means 10 pi. That is the circumference of the circle. Good. Right. What's the perimeter? So the perimeter of any shape is the sum of the outer sides. Let me write that down for you. So the perimeter of any shape, again, is the sum of the outer sides. It's like you're creating a fence for the shape. The word fence here is important. كأني بعمل سور for the shape. So the fence would be the length of all of the outer sides. So I'll just add length plus width plus length plus width. If I'm talking على square, it would be side plus side plus side plus side. Same thing if I'm talking على triangle, this plus this plus this. So the sum of all the outer sides. Sometimes they'll show you shapes like these. And they'll ask you to find the parameter, and you're given, let's say this is 20, you're given that this is 18, this is 8, and you're asked, okay, and you ask to find, it's actually pretty easy, you're actually asked to find the perimeter, okay? So what's the perimeter تاني يا زينة? It's the sum of the outer sides, صح؟ يعني المفروض انهي sides اللي اعملهم plus بعض؟ ده plus ده plus ده plus ده وده كمان، صح؟ طيب. Now take a look at the lengths اللي أنا مديها لك, the given lengths. If this whole side is 20, then it means from starting from this point here up until this point here, all of this length is what? 20, right?
Yes.
Part of it, which is this part, is how much? 13. So can you get this part here? لأنه ده الباقي بتاعه, صح؟ بقية الطول.
7?
Exactly, 7. So in order to get this length, you just need to do 20, اللي هي the whole big length اللي هنا. I'll remove from it ال 13, which is this part اللي هنا, and that would be 7. So this side is 7. Now do the same thing on the other side now. If I'm told that this is 20, then this means that starting here up until here, it's also 20. And this part of it is 8. So can you get the measure of this part?
12.
Exactly, 12. So 20 minus the 8, and the length is 12. Now add all of the sides, the outer sides together. So it's 8 plus 7 plus 12 plus 13 plus 20 plus 20. Does that make sense?
8.
80, perfect. Everyone, does this make sense? Parameter is easy now?
Yes.
Awesome. There's an important thing to discuss, or an important type of questions to discuss, which includes the area of a shaded region. So this is about something. اه يا حبيبتي حاضر ثانية واحدة. This one or above كمان. So there are questions that come in the ACT a lot that includes the area of a shaded region. So you'll have more than one shape graphed inside each other. And there will be a space, a region in there that's shaded, and you're asked to find the area of that shaded region. Now, always, every single time, those types of questions are solved by subtracting area, a big area, minus a smaller area. It's like, again, every single time we have a shaded region, it will always be a bigger area of a shape minus a smaller area of a shape, and the remaining will be the shaded region that I want. So what do I mean by that? Again, imagine you have a shape like this square here, and then you're given something like this. It's a circle inside the square, and then you're told that you are asked to find the area of the shaded region. So the shaded region is a part of the bigger shape, apparently. The biggest shape is apparently the square, and then there's a smaller shape, which is the circle, and then there are tiny differences between the square and the circle. So if I'd like to find the area of the shaded region, I'll have to get the area of a big area minus a smaller area. That probably should give you the shaded region. In this case, it would be the area of the square, correct? The biggest area is the area of square minus which one is the smaller area? أشيل منها إيه؟
The circle.
The circle, yes. So the area of the circle, that should get me the entire shaded region. If you're told, for example, that the length of this side from here up until here is 10, can you actually get the area of the square? Yes, because the area of the square is side times side, right? Which is 10 times 10, or 10 power 2, which is 100. Minus, now what's the area of the circle? It's supposed to be pi r squared. Do I have the radius?
Yes.
Yes, because starting from this point up until here, exactly, so the radius is 5, the diameter is 10, so the radius is 5, which means that this is 25 pi. So the area of the shaded region is 100 minus 25 pi. That's the area of the shaded region. You'll find it either as it is in the choices, or you'll find it as decimals over there. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. Please understand the following. Whenever I'm explaining anything like a topic specifically or something like that, I do explain the basics of it, and I try to show you what possible hints could come. But the questions that you're supposed to solve or practice right after or try on your own are always expected to be harder than the ones that I've explained. And the reason why is I want you to struggle first to be able to actually remember once I explain them how they're solved. So don't feel demotivated if you're unable to solve after we explain something. Start to actually doubt whether you understand or not after the second practice set of questions. So I first explain, and then I'll give you a set of questions to practice, and then another set of questions to practice. If after the second you're still unable to solve, this is when you start to ask yourself whether I do actually understand or not, and if there's a need for me to keep asking more questions or something like that. So, as I said, this is a very simple, basic idea of what could be there in an area of a shaded region, what could be there in a parameter question like this one, and what are the basic areas of any shape whatsoever, and what's the parameter of any shape whatsoever. Because we've explained the areas, I can and quickly give you the volumes as well, because the volumes of all shapes are based on the area. So if you do know the area quite well, you can easily get the volume of any shape. For example, if we're talking about a cylinder is a 3D shape that looks like a pipe or a glass, مثلا, for example. So the base of the shape here is not just a line. The base of the shape is an area. It's like a shape. The base of this cylinder is not just a line, it's a circle. So we can't just say it's the volume of any shape is base times height. Instead, the volume of any shape is the area of base multiplied by the height. So whenever you see a shape, you first check what's the base of it. The base here is a circle. So what's the area of the circle? Pi r squared. Multiply that by the height, which is this one, and you'll get the volume. So imagine, for example, if we're talking about a cube. The cube has all its sides equal to each other. The base of the shape, you first go and check what's the shape of the base. The shape of the base is here is square. So what's the area of the base? It's side squared. Multiply that by the height, which is also a side, because all sides of a cube are equal. So it's side power 2 times side, which will become side power 3. Imagine if we're talking about a rectangular block, like a block, a brick, for example. This one has a base of a rectangle. So the area of the base will be length times width. Multiply that by the height, this one or this or this or this. I'm sorry, is someone saying something? That's the volume. Someone saying something or asking out? Okay. So here's how, again, I get the volume of any shape whatsoever. I just need to check the shape of the base and get the area of that base and multiply that by the height, and then done. The idea of the volume is that it gets me the size of something. Again, it's a 3D shape. So sometimes there will be questions where they're asking you things like, how many boxes with dimensions (7 by 2 by 3) can be fit in a box with dimensions, apologies about the handwriting though, with dimensions of 20 by 20 or by 10 by 20. So what is the question asking you again? It's asking you how many of a specific box can be fit inside a bigger box. These types of questions are there a lot. Sometimes it was about a CD box, it's like the box of the CD or something. So a bigger box can take how many smaller boxes of the CDs, or something just like this. So what we need is mainly to find the volume of the bigger shape and the volume of the smaller shape and divide them by each other. So if I want to know how many small boxes can fit into a big box, get the volume of the big box and divide it by the volume of the smaller box. That's how you know how many boxes of this small one can fit into the bigger one. Yes. طيب عارفة مثلا like any boxes of chocolate مثلا. You know the cornflakes, the small boxes of cornflakes?
Yes.
Okay. Now those small boxes of cornflakes are actually packaged في big boxes, صح؟ يعني بيجي السوبر ماركت اصلا في big boxes كده جواهم smaller boxes of corn flakes صغيرة صح؟ طيب أنا the question ده is asking like if you know the dimensions لو أنت عارفة the dimensions of the big box وعارفة the dimensions of the small box of the corn flakes, can you find out how many boxes of the small one can fit into the big one؟ يعني البوكس الكبير ده بيتحط فيه كام واحد من الصغير؟ So how do I do that? Say.
يعني
هعد صح؟
مش عارفة أقول الأرقام إزاي بس يعني
kind of هعد شوية اللي هو أشوف تقريبا السايد ده قد إيه والسايد ده قد إيه ومش عارف إيه. Now the better thing to do is to get the volume بتاع البوكس الكبير وتعمليه divided الفوليوم بتاع البوكس الصغير بس كده. ده هيقول لي كام واحد من الصغير ده هيتحط في البوكس الكبير. فاهمة؟ ولا مش قوي برضو؟ يعني able to imagine it صح؟
نحلها بس مع بعض مش
Yes. So what's the volume here of the bigger box? البوكس الكبير. البوكسز المقاسات بتاعته ايه؟ It's 20 by 10 by 20. So what's the volume? Yes.
كارلا مش عارفة تتكلم. تطلع وتخش تاني ولا ايه؟
مش عارفة خليها تطلع تخش او تبعت على الشات whatever she likes. بس خليها تطلع تخش احسن. لولو.
Yes.
So what's the volume of a shape? Of a rectangular shape. خلي بالك ده box يعني هو rectangular shape. يعني زي ده كده. So ايه الفوليوم بتاعه؟ هيبقى length times width times height صح؟ So انا عندي هو مديني اللينث والويدث والهايت. ال 3 dimensions دول اللي بيقولهم دول دايما بيكونوا عباره عن length وwidth وهايت. اللي هنا واللي هنا واللي هنا. So لما احب اجيب الفوليوم of the big box it would be 20 times 10 times 10 times 20. Length times width times height, correct?
Yes.
طيب what's the volume of the smaller box?
7 to 30.
So 7 times 2 times 3 exactly. Get this volume 20 times 10 200 times 20 4,000 and then 7 times 2 times 3 7 times 3 21 21 times 2 42. All what you need to do now is to divide the 4,000 by 42. Let's do this on a calculator please. What's 4,000 divided by 42? 95. Awesome. So we do have, actually it's 95.2. So we can't have 95.2 boxes. Instead, we'll take the smaller number, we'll approximate to the 95 only. So apparently this big shape, the big box, can hold up to 95 of the smaller boxes. Does this make sense, Yarulu?
Yes.
Okay, everyone else, does this make sense?
Mr. حضرتك سامعني دلوقتي؟
Yes, يا حبيبتي. Awesome. Ask please. كنت بتقولي ايه؟ كنت عايز تقولي على حاجة صح؟ ولا تسألي على حاجة يعني؟
بس خلاص ما احنا عندنا.
لا عادي اسأليني قولي لي ايه المشكلة؟
بس دي انا
ماشي اسأليني.
دي حضرتك بتحلها ما كنتش.
Okay. Again, the question is mainly the following. He's asking how many boxes of, with the dimensions of 7 by 2 by 3. So 7 by 2 by 3, this is the dimensions of a type of a box. Okay. Can be fit in a box with dimensions of 20 by 10 by 20. We're asking you now, there are two types of boxes. One that has dimensions 72 with 3 with the other type has 20 with 10 with 20. يعني في بوكس كبير وفي بوكس صغير. فعشان اعرف البوكس الكبير يتحط جواه كام واحد صغير, you need to get the volume of the big one and divide it by the volume of the small one. Okay? Is this okay? So I'll get the volume of the big box. What's the volume of the big box? The dimensions بتاعته كانت 20 by 10 by 20. عشان اجيب الفوليوم بعمل المفروض length اهو times width times height which is 20 times 10 times 20. ده الفوليوم 4,000. Is this okay?
Yes.
طيب the volume of the small box بقى المفروض يبقى 7 times 2 times 3 اللي هو again length times width times height. ده الفوليوم بتاع السمولر one. كل اللي هعمله بعد كده ان هعمل الكبير ده divided الصغير ده. هيطلع لي 95.2. معناها ان هم 95.2 boxes. ينفع يكون عندي 95.2 box؟ ما ينفعش 0.2 دي، فهاخد 95 بس. So the actual answer is just 95 boxes can be fit. لا ما كنتش هعملها كده برضو لان you have to think understand ان دول boxes. So حتى لو هي 0.6 box يعني كاني بقول لك انا عربيتي هتكفي 4 بني ادمين ونص، فانا هينفع اركب فيها 5 people ولا لا؟
لا.
So it will always be the smaller one لان ده انا بشوف الكبير ياخد كام واحد صغير. So يعني عربيتي تاخد 4 افراد ونص يبقى تاخد always 4 maximum بس مش تاخد 5 ever. صح؟ Sure, huh? Yes. So this is it. Most welcome. Everyone, we're all good. Any questions here? Any confusions?
No.
Now, if you head to Google Classroom, there is a form called Areas and Parameters 1. Oh, wait, before we head to that. There's one more thing I need to tell you. Okay. Now, what I'm about to say has really nothing to do with. Oh, actually, no. Just wait. First of all, we discussed the areas of shapes عادي if we know the lengths of the base and the height and the measures and so on. But what if we have a triangle like this and we do not know the lengths of the 3 sides? Instead, we only know 2 sides and an angle. And the middle angle, actually.
Law of sines?
Yes. No, not law of sines, actually. And I need to know the area, okay? It's not sines, it's cosines. So listen, please, to this one. Please, very carefully, okay? There is a rule to find the area of any triangle whatsoever using 2 sides and the angle in between. So I can only use this rule if I have 2 sides given and the middle angle. Like this example over here, I have the measure of this side and I have the measure of that side and I do have the measure of the middle angle. Now what's the rule? The rule says it's half multiplied by AB cosine C. What does that mean? So it means half times the 2 sides cosine the middle angle. هو ده الرول من الآخر. If I need to find the area of this triangle, I just say half multiplied by السايد الأولاني multiplied by السايد الثاني multiplied by cosine the middle angle, which is here 40. That would get me the area right away of the triangle. Does this make sense?
Yes. هو انا هطلع الاجابه ازاي؟ يعني هكتب بقى كل ده
لا.
على الكالكوليتر.
Yes, انت المفروض تكتبيها كلها على الكالكوليتر بس sometimes and most of the times you'll find that the answer is written this way exactly in the choices. فاهمه؟ يعني half و10 و20 وكوزين وكده. بس كده لو انت عايز تعرفي تحسبيها ازاي you just need to multiply on a calculator half times 12 times 10 times cosine.
ماشي الانسر 45.96.
That's fine. Yes.
ماشي اوكي.
Okay. So again, الطبيعي whenever normally if I do need to find the area I just need half times the base times the height and so on. But what if I don't have the measures of all the sides? Instead, I have the measures of 2 sides and the middle angle. In this case, I can easily say that the area is half times the 2 sides times cosine the middle angle. It can't be anything other than cosine, not sine. Type. What if I do not know the measures of the sides. Like, for example, what if I know this is a line inside a triangle like this one, and this triangle entirely is graphed on an xy axis. Let's say you're given that this point is 2 and 2, this point is 4. طبعا they're not accurate, these kinds of things, okay? 4 and 1, let's say. This point is 3 and 5. And we would like, let's not put it as 3 and 5, let's put it as 4 and 5. We would like to find the area of this shape. So what do we know about the area of a triangle? We know that it's supposed to be half times the base times the height. Do we have a base for this shape? Do we know what's the base of this shape? And please remember that the base and the height are perpendicular on each other. يعني لازم يبقوا 90 degrees. They must be perpendicular on each other, the base and the height. So do we know what's the base of this shape? Which side is the base of this shape? Let's call those
4 and
1. The point 4 and 1, you mean? It has to be a side. كده كده. A full line.
من B to C.
BC ممكن يكون البase. If I took BC as the base, then the height must be perpendicular on the base كده. Can I get the height out of this? I can't, unfortunately. ليه؟ لأن BC معوج. BC is tilted. BC is not on the same, it's not a horizontal line. BC is a tilted line. So I would not be able to find the height. Instead, this line here is not a tilted line. How did I know that? Look at the x coordinate. هنا ال x before وهنا ال x before برضو. Which means in the line there is a vertical line. Which means I can easily find the length بتاعه. Can anyone tell me what's the length of this side, AC? Anyone? If this point is at 4 on the x and 1 on the y, and this point is still 4 on the x but 5 on the y, can someone tell me what's the length of this side?
4.
Yes. How did you know that?
عشان الأكسس نفسه.
لا مش عشان الاكسس، عشان ايه؟
عشان they're on the same line.
ايوه. How did you get 4 بالظبط؟ Is it this value ولا how did we calculate the 4؟
عشان it's on the line.
5 minus 1. عشان it's on the same vertical line يا رجاء. That's what you're trying to say، صح؟ ايوه صح. So it's starting from this y value which is the 1 up until this y value which is the 5. So it's actually 5 minus 1 which is 4. So I do have the base. Now if I need to find the height is this length in this case. It's starting from this point B on the x2 up until the base which is on the x4. So what do you think the height will be equals to? This is again the base. What do you guys think the height will be equal to? Yes, yeah, Emre, right? 2 exactly, which is starting from 2 up until 4. So this distance right here is 2. So what's the entire area? It's half times the base, which is 4, times the height, which is 2, and that would get me 4. Does that make sense, everyone? جواد
جبنا الهايت ازاي؟
ونادين وعمر. الهايت is this one يا حبيبي. هو البوينت دي on the x is at 2 والpoint with this line which is the base on the x is at 4. So apparently from this base of 4 up until 2 this has a distance of قد ايه؟ From 2 to 4 distance قد ايه؟ 2 صح؟ So that's the height اهو. وهنا كده that's the base اهو. أو this is the length of the base. فاهم؟ طيب what if these two lines or this line right here, the thick line, wasn't a straight line? Then how would I know the length of this side? There's one rule to find the distance between any 2 points. There's one rule to find the distance between any 2 points, which is the square root of rise squared minus run, plus run squared. يعني it means it's y2 minus y1 in a bracket to the power of 2 plus x2 minus x1 in a bracket to the power of 2. So let's say I have points of 2 and negative 3, and the other point is 4 and 7. How do I know the distance from this point to that point? How do I know the length of that line? I'll just apply the rule. I'll say y2 minus y1 all to the power of 2 plus x2 minus x1 all to the power of 2. Put this on a calculator, so this will become 100 plus 104. So root 104. I think the answer would come out as, it will become 10.19. This is the length from this point to that point. So if I can't figure out if there are any vertical or horizontal lines, I'll just calculate the distance from this point up until this point to get whatever length I need. How do I calculate that distance? Using the distance formula that I just explained. Does that make sense, everyone, or not so much?
Yes, أنا فاهمة.
Awesome. Okay. Nadine, are you good?
Yes.
You sure يا حبيبتي?
Yeah.
Okay. Is the 4 we found the exact answer or approximate? The 4 we found, you mean which 4? This one? The area you mean? This is actually an accurate one. Because the base is accurate to be 4, and the height is accurate to be 2, and the area of any triangle whatsoever is half times its base times its height. So half times the 4 would become 2, and then 2 times 2 would become 4. That's an accurate measure of the area. Is that okay? Does that answer actually your question? Yes? No? Fine. If that's the case, I'd like you please to go and try out, as I said, area and parameters 1. This question has a question regarding your understanding about the fence and so on, kind of, because the distance between B and C is root 5. Which one are you talking about? B and C? Yes, Habibi, but then we don't need the distance between B and C, because BC is not actually the height of the shape. The height of the shape must be perpendicular on its base. So the height of the shape is this dotted line that I just graphed here. This is the height, not BC. What you were trying to calculate is BC to get the distance so that you can get the height. Is that what I understand? Is that what you were trying to do? Or did I get it wrong? So no, that's the problem then. The base of this shape is this side here. This one, that's the easy one because it's a vertical shape. Now its height is supposed to be that, because it must be perpendicular on the base. It can't be a line that goes this way, it has to be this way. So the distance is exactly 2, because the distance is starting from x equals to 2 up until x equals to 4. This is equal to the exact distance of the height. While BC does not represent the height, BC is longer than that. It's 2 point something. That's why it came out as 5. Oh, sorry, root 5. Because it comes out as 2 point something. Does that make sense, Shoy? Awesome. Most welcome. In the forms, as I said, there will be one about fences, another one about that requires shwaya thinking. It could be solved without any understanding of the areas and so on. This one is about an area. This one is similar to the one we just solved. This one is a shaded region. So mainly the 5 questions here discuss almost all the things we've discussed so far. Okay. Again, there are a total of 4 actually questions, and I'll give you actually no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. I'll give you for the 5 questions a total of 7 minutes.
مستر الأحل اللي هي بتيجي 1 دي؟
لا areas and parameters 1. The one that says areas and parameters 1. Seven minutes for all 5 questions. 7 minutes started now. Whoever does not have access to Google Classroom, I'll send the link now on the chat as well, or in the chat. The link is sent in the chat. It says Banu, whatever his name is, will build a fence around a rectangular 30 foot by 25 foot play area. Given that the fencing costs 4.05 per foot, how much will the fence cost for Banu to completely surround the play area? So I need to know, الأول, how much of this fence does he need? Like how long does he need? And then I'll check how much does it cost. So if I need to create a fence for a rectangular area like this one that has the measures of 30 by 25, then I need the parameter of the shape, which will become all of those sides added to each other. So 30 plus 25 and 25, and that's 110. So I need 110 foot of this fence. Each foot, costs $4.05. So 110 multiplied by 4.05. That is what should give me the answer right away, which then the answer of this question would be A. The majority got it correct with a few mistakes.
مستر أنا عملت حاجة غبية جدا.
There's no such thing. What happened?
أنا أخدت واحدة 30 وواحدة 25.
This is a very common mistake, وعشان كده خلى لك الأوبشن موجود صح؟
لا الأوبشن ما كانش موجود.
اللي هو مش E؟
E أيوه صح.
صح؟ هو عارف إن this is a very common mistake because بس people forget إن the fence is all around مش بس التو sides دول. عشان كده بقيت أقول لك تخيليها as a fence، أنت بتعملي سور. So أنا عايز أعمل كل اللي بره بلس بعض مش بس التو sides منه. فهمتي الفكرة؟ بس
معلش.
لا يا حبيبتي المهم أنت فهمتيها ده اللي يفرق. طيب 54 is the one that confused a bit. Let's see how this one works. It says the first 4 elements of a pattern are shown below. Each element is composed of small squares that are 18 inches wide and 18 inches long. So each square of those small squares is 18 and 18. 18 again and 18 again, and so on. Each element is a square with both dimensions 18 inches less than the dimensions of the next element. This is a part that's there to confuse you because honestly, if you can see the pattern, خلاص, there is no point. Yeah, yes, I know. Perfect. So what they're asking for was what's the parameter, but in feet of the 5th element. Now there's something very important to tell you here. This is an ACT test, okay? There are versions of the test. There is an international version and there's a US version. The US version is the one that has feet and inches, while the international one is the one that should have kilometers, meters, centimeters, and meters, and so on. If you're given the American, or if you were told in one of the questions, you're asked to switch from feet to inches, they should provide in brackets here, what's the rate of change? That 1 foot is 12 inches. you'll be given the rate of change. But if it's a centimeters and meters, then you'll not be given the rate of change, for example. So usually, if this exact question you actually got in an exam, you'll be given what's the rate of change to change from feet to inches and the other way around. Does that make sense, everyone? Yes,
Yes.
Ahmed? No problem, يا حبيبي. عادي عادي. So again, in this question, expect or assume that you're already given this, that the 1 foot is equivalent to 12 inches. Now, let's think of the question. Mainly, أنا عندي one tiny square like this one. It consists of 18 inches by 18 inches. And then when the next square, they will add, as you can see, 18 on both sides, on each side. So that like each side of the square will increase by 18. Okay? 18 on each side again. So what's the parameter? Can someone tell me what's the parameter of this? Anyone?
36.
First, it's 46, 18, 18, it's 20, 18, 18 is 30, no, أكتر. 18, 18 is 32, 64. صح? No, I think more.
احنا بعمل addition ولا؟
Yes, addition to 18 plus 18 plus 18 4 مرات. Or 18 times 4.
72.
36 plus 36 which is
72.
أيوة
Okay.
صح؟ 72.
So the first is 72. Then what's the next? In the next one, I'll add 18 to both sides, sorry, to each side, which means I'll add 18 4 times. يعني I'll add 4 times 18. What am I saying here? Again, each side, this one is 18, this one is 18, 18, 18. And then in the next element, here was the square, the first square, and it's like I added 18 here, and I added 18 there, and I added 18 there, and I added 18 there. So the parameter has increased by another 72. So it's like the second shape has a parameter now of 72 plus 72. The third shape, 72 and 72, is 144. This third shape will be 144 and then add another 72. The fourth shape, I'll add another 72 and so on. I'll keep adding 72. Does that make sense? Yes or no? I can explain it in a completely different way if it doesn't. So just give me a feedback. Yes, no, nothing?
Yes, yes.
So again, you need to understand what, because they said up here that this is a pattern, I started to look هو ايه pattern أصلا, what's happening in the pattern. They said that what's happening is that we add 18 inches on each side of this square each time, or from one term to the next term. So apparently I started to think if the first one had a parameter of 72, what happens from the first to the second? The parameter has increased by 72. And then from second to third, again increased by 72. And then third to fourth, 72, and so on. So I can just keep adding 72 until I get the fifth. If the first one is 72, the next one is 72 plus 72. The next one is 72 times 3, 72 times 4. And apparently the fifth will be 72 times 5 times. So 5 times 72 should give you the length in inches. Can someone please calculate that for me? 72 times 5.
Mr. Are we calculating the black pattern?
Not everyone, all the whole shape altogether, not just the black ones. So it's like we're getting this plus we're getting all of this side plus the parameter of all of this plus all parameter. It's like we're getting the parameter of a square. Does that make sense?
بس عشان هو the first one كان في واحدة black.
It doesn't matter what the black and white thing, Carla, is there to confuse you actually. It doesn't matter. Like, think of it as if there are no colors whatsoever. there was one square here that had sides of 18, and then the next square that had sides of 36 و36 و36. السكوير اللي بعده was 18 plus 18 plus 18, which is 18 times 3. This one was 54, 54, 54, and so on. So when you look at the sides, الأولاني كان 18, اللي بعده 72, اللي بعده 54. البارامتر بيزيد by 72 each time. You don't get that, صح? I don't want you to look at the shape with the blacks and whites at all. Look at the whole square together.
Okay.
Not so much, I know. So just disregard completely the shapes as if this is one big square, and try to check out what's happening in the pattern. The first square had a parameter of 18 times 4, which is 72. Then the second square had a parameter of 144. So apparently I realized that I'm adding 72 to the parameter in each time. They need the fifth element. So I'll just keep adding 72 5 times. That's one way to do it. Another way is to just find out the sides of each square became and get the parameter of, or get the side of the fifth square and then get the parameter of the fifth square as well. Does that kind of make sense? I actually need some sort of like either questions or give me some sort of a feedback so that I can tell you how to solve this one better.
Mr. 72 times 5 طلع 360.
So 360 inches, صح? So I need to change that to feet. Apparently, in 1 foot be 12. Whoa. In 1 foot be 12 inches. Okay? So I'll need to divide this by كام? These are feet. Again, 1 foot be 12 inches. So I just need to divide the 360 by 12. So 360 divided by 12, that would get you 30. It's actually a total of 30 feet. Does that make sense? No? 12?
Yes.
Emre, is it clear, Habibi? How is it now? Again, are we all good? Again, to be honest, this could be solved in like 6 various different ways. Okay, it depends on how each one of you could, like, it depends on individual basis. Like the first thing I would see is as Carla said, for example, the first thing she noticed is the black and white. So you could actually solve it if you're just looking at the black or white, or if you're noticing only the black or white in a specific way. If you're not, and if you're looking at the bigger picture, each square as a whole, there's another way to solve it. If you're looking at just the sides, there's a third way to solve it. So that's why I'm asking you, you need to actually ask me something or to give me some sort of a feedback where you are, and I'll make it better. I'll adjust it to how you understand it. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
So all good?
أنا شفتها بطريقة تانية خالص وأعتقد ممكن تكون صح. إن هو برضه the black pattern. The first one was 1. The second one can 2 بس diagonal.
Okay.
والthird 3 diagonal والfourth 4 diagonal. أنا فهمتها كده.
Okay. So ماشي. You can, and you'll see that then the fifth element will have how many diagonal ones? 5 ones, صح?
Yeah.
Good. So برضو you can, okay. The important thing بقى is to relate what you understood to the parameter thing. يعني انت حاولي تفكري اوكي هو حتى لو في 5 diagonals what's the parameter of the whole shape في الكيس دي، عشان هو ده اللي انا بحاول اجيبه البارامتر بتاع الفيفث، صح؟ so لما كان 1 square بس في الدياجونال كان البارامتر كام؟ بعدين تشيك لما كانوا 2 كان البارامتر كام؟ بعدين تشيك لما كانوا 3 كان البارامتر كام؟ you'll start already to recognize a pattern. So if you got the parameter first time and you found it's 36, you got the parameter لما كانوا 2, you will find it's, sorry, the parameter of the first time you find it's 72, and then the parameter here you'll find it's 144, and then the parameter here you'll find it's 236, something like that. Yes, 236. No, 216, I think. Yes. So you'll find that there's a pattern of adding 72 each time. So you can easily say, خلاص, whatever the value of this, I'll just add 72 to it, 72 to it, and I'll find the answer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
أنا بس كنت بشرح لحضرتك إزاي.
أيوة, which is right, 100%. I'm just saying, it's another way of thinking of it, and it's true. Now, there was another question regarding, I don't understand what it meant by 18 inches less than the dimensions of the next element. Again, this is intentionally used to confuse you, Bardu. They could say it in another way, and that would be the answer. Like, we're adding 18 inches to each side each time. That's what they're trying to tell you. What they're trying to say is that each side of this big square, of the whole square together, each side is 18 inches less than the previous one. So if you compare this to this, it's like you've subtracted 18 inches from each side to get to that one. So it's just there to confuse you. If you don't really understand it, by just looking at the shape, you'll realize that there is a pattern that's happening, or you'll realize what they're trying to explain in the sentence above. Does that make sense, Shoya?
شوية.
Okay. طيب. Moving on to 56. As I said, it was my own mistake. I told you that the area of any shape in the world is supposed to be base times height, and then when I told you if you have two sides and the middle angle, you can use half times the two sides times cosine the middle angle, and that's completely incorrect. I'm sorry about that. It's actually half times both sides, which are 11 and 10, times sine the middle angle, which is the 30. So Omar, you were the one who remembered the rule the right way, and I thank you for that. So actually J is supposed to be the correct answer. If you've selected H, then again, I'm saying it's my mistake, not yours, so you understand and everything. It's just that I've given you an incorrect rule, and thankfully we fixed it. This one is very similar to the one we've already explained in the explanation at the beginning, because we have already this line as a vertical line. I can easily get the distance, because this has an x of 5, or this has an x of 5, a y of 10, or y of 4. So the distance of this line here is 10 minus 4, which is 6. That's the base. Now, to figure out the height, we need the distance from this point until here, which is mainly the difference between the x's of -3 and 5. So from -3 to 5, that's a distance of 8. The area of the triangle should be half times the base times the height. The base here is 6, as we said, and the height is 8. That would get me 24, which is A.
طب أنا ليه هنا ما عملتش اللي هي
Distance?
بفتح روت وبعمل y2 minus y1.
Okay, انت عايزه the distance between any two sides. يعني why the distance we use it in order to get the length of a side. Which side do you want its length?
ما أنا ما أعرفش بقى دي مشكلة.
Exactly. So remember, we use the distance formula only to get the lengths that we want. What you need to figure out first, what are the sides that I need? Apparently, in order to get the area, I need base and height. And the base and the height must be perpendicular to each other. They have to create a 90 degrees. So in an XY axis دايما الperpendicular بالنسبة لي would be أي حاجة parallel للX وأي حاجة parallel للY. هم دول البيس والهايت بتوعي. Okay? When you look at this triangle, السايد ده فيه this side is not parallel للX ولا السايد ده parallel للX ولا للY. بس السايد الأزرق ده is actually parallel to the Y, correct ولا لا؟
Yes.
So هاسوم خلاص ان this is my base. Now I need to figure out الهايت بتاعه هيكون عامل ازاي. الهايت لازم يكون عامل 90 degrees عليه, correct؟ صح؟
Yes.
So get the distance between this blue line and the peak of the triangle. يعني think as if you're looking at it this way. فاهمة؟ ده خلاص البيس بتاعي. I need to get the distance from here to this point here. You don't have 2 points and you're getting the distance between them. No. You just need to count here the difference between the x's. من أول الx بنيجاتيف 3 لحد الx هنا كانت ب 5. So this distance اللي هنا تحت دي is exactly the same as the distance of the height, which is this dotted line here. فاهمة ولا مش قوي؟
Yes.
طيب حاجة برضو عشان كده في الوايز مثلا لما كانت هنا الواي دي ب 10 and this y was 4, we assumed that this base, the distance d, is the base, which is equivalent to this yellow blue part, correct? And we did 10 minus 4 to get the distance. نفس اللي حصل بالطول ده عملناه هنا كده على الاكس تاني، فاهمة؟ طيب لو ما كانش فيه if none of the sides, none of them were parallel لا للx ولا للy, then I'd have to use the distance formula between any points to actually get the distance, يعني to get lengths. ما أنا if I needed, for example, the length of this red line, I cannot get it except with the distance formula. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Everyone? No? Not so much?
Yes.
Okay. I'm
Yes.
assuming if there's a problem you'll ask برضو بس يعني please do. Now this is a very common type of question. The shapes that are not so much commonly used, like for example the ellipse, they will give you the rule for it. So that's exactly what they did here. They said an ellipse with a major axis of length 6 inches and a minor axis of length 4 inches. Il major il minor and so on. They showed you here what's the major and which is the minor. And they said the region inside the rectangle but outside the ellipse is shaded, which is this gray regions. They want to know what is the area of the shaded region. And we said that the area of any shaded region, it's always the area of the big shape minus the area of the small shape. First, I'll think of what's the area of the big shape. This is an easy one. That's a rectangle. So apparently it's 4 times 6. That would get me the area of the rectangle, which is 24. Now, I know for a fact I'll do 24 minus something, which here is supposed to be the ellipse. When you look at the answers, there are 3 answers that has 24 minus. So you exclude J and you exclude K right away. And I'm thinking of F or G or H. Now, what's the area of the ellipse? When you read the note part, they tell you that the area of any ellipse can be found by this formula. It's pi multiplied by A multiplied by B. And then they said that A is half the length of the major axis. What's the major axis in this shape? It's the 6. So A, which is this number, is supposed to be half the 6, which is 3. So here I'll put 3. Then B is supposed to be half the length of the minor axis. What's the minor axis? It's the 4. So this one is supposed to be half multiplied by the 4, which is 2. So now I have this one is 2. I just need to put this now on a calculator. 3 times 2 is 6, so that's 6 pi. So 24 minus 6 pi. That's the area of the shaded region. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yes.
Are we all good?
Yes.
Awesome. Now, if you don't mind, try areas and parameters too. It includes here as well shaded regions, but it includes circles for the first time. It includes parts of questions that mainly requires the reasoning, and I'm hopeful that you will be able actually to get those easily. So let's try them out. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5 questions right away. Five questions, please get them over if you can within the 8 minutes. And the 8 minutes starts now. areas and parameters too. Can anyone please just say anything so I make sure it's actually working? It's not a problem with my internet. Let's see. Zina, if you can hear me, I think you need to leave maybe and join back ولا حاجة because I can't hear you, but I can see that you're unmuted. Whenever we read the area of a triangle, we think of the rule, which is half times base times height. And you just have to think, what's the base of the triangle? So again, someone who couldn't get it right, would you please help me through how did you think about it? Nadine, are you here? Carla, yes, please go ahead. What do you think? What's the base?
It's 5.
Why? Never mind the numbers now. Just look at the letters and look at the triangle.
معلش الانترنت بتاعي فصل ورجع تاني.
It's fine يا حبيبي. طيب أنا كنت بقول لك معلش يا كارلا give me بقى back a second عشان أحاول تاني مع زينة. Okay. زينة ممكن تقولي لي what do you think يا حبيبتي? The first thing بقول لك we think of is the rule of the area of the triangle which is half times base times height صح؟
أيوة.
طب what's the base? What did you assume as the base في الشيب ده؟
عملت
Is it this side PQ or QR or PR? Because هما 3 sides. PR, which is this vertical line, صح؟ حلو. So what's the length of PR?
5 و 5.
No. The length is طوله. So where did it start and where did it end? Try to get the length now. It started هنا عند ال Y الأول بكام؟ ب 3.
1 okay.
ب 3 أهو.
okay.
And it ended عند ال Y بكام؟ ب 11.
لا.
The X coordinate, yes, is 5, and this one has an X coordinate of 8. This one. صح؟ Okay. So what's the length again of PR? افتكري.
8.
اللي هو من فين لحد فين؟ من 3 لحد 11 صح؟ اللي هم 11 minus 3 صح؟ Which is 8. So this one has a length of 8. So the base is 8. So it's half times 8. Now what's the height of the triangle? Look at the triangle and think, where could the height be? It should start from the base perpendicular up until the last point of the triangle صح? Which is this blue line, correct? So what's the length of this blue line? من أول فين لحد فين؟ ابتدى فين وخلص فين؟ أبص دلوقتي على الإكس ولا أبص على الواي؟ What do you think? Is it lag again? Oh. So if I'm looking على الطول اللي بالأزرق ده لا. Yes, it's from 5 up until 8. So this length here is 8 minus 5, which is 3. So now I have the height as 3. Half times 8 times 3, that's 12. That's the answer. Anyone or everyone, please ask. Please keep asking as many questions as possible. If I'm trying to get the length of a vertical line, then I check the y coordinates. Where does it start on the y and where does it end on the y? But if I'm trying to get the distance of a horizontal line like this one, I check where does it start on the x and where does it end on the x. Does that make sense, everyone? عشان كده these are the blue ones. The blue ones كده is the horizontal part, this one. While the red one, or the red part, this length here, is the vertical one. So I always check the y's for the vertical and the x's for the horizontal. Are we all clear?
تمام.
Regina, are we good?
Yes.
Now the next one. So I have two mistakes so far in this one. I'm hoping in whoever got it right with the reason, not just by luck. Okay? It says here, the figure below shows a flower bed consisting of 3 regions, each bordered by garden edging. The edging forms 3 concentric circles. The word concentric means that they share the same center. So concentric circles means they have the same center. So this smaller circle has the same center as the bigger one and as the biggest one. They're saying that each part, like from here to there, this is a radius r, and then from here to there, this is r, and then from here to there, another r. The length of the edging needed at the border of the smallest region is 10 meters. So the smallest circle, this one, needed edging of 10 meters. So how do I get the edging of a circle? What represents the length of the edging of the circle? Is it the area or the circumference? Everyone? Circumference, good. Yes, true. So the circumference would give me the edging. What's the circumference of a circle? هو المفروض الرول بتاعه ايه? What's the rule? 2 pi r. They said that the edging is equals to 10 meters. So the 2 pi r is actually equals to 10 meters. Does that make sense to everyone? Does everyone understand ليه عملت كده? How did I do this and why? Is that clear to everyone ولا لا? I based الموضوع according to what they said. Okay, they said that the edging of a circle, of the smaller circle, is 10. So what did I do? I checked the smallest circle. Where is the smallest circle? It's this one. So what's the length? أو معناها إيه كلمة edging؟ edging معناها الcircumference بتاع السيركل. هو إيه الcircumference؟ الرول بتاعه هو الرول ده. فهو ما دام قال لي ان السيركمفرنس او الادجنج ب 10 يبقى السيركمفرنس ب 10، فكتبت ايكويشن ان 2 باي ار اللي هي السيركمفرنس لازم تبقى equals to 10. Does this make sense يا كارلا؟
Yes.
طيب can you guys get the r بكام دلوقتي؟ لو انا عندي 2 باي r equals 10 I can get the r ازاي؟ ان انا اموف ال 2 باي to the other side by division. So I'll say that the r is equals to 10 divided by 2 pi. كده أنا عندي the value of 1r بكام؟ This is extremely important. فلما يجي بعد كده يقول لي what's the total length of edging needed for the borders of all 3 regions, then I'll get the circumference of all 3 regions وأعملهم plus بعض. ده كده ال total edging. So أنا جبت ال edging of the smallest circle. Let's get the edging of the bigger one اللي هي دي. How do I calculate the circumference? الcircumference المفروض يكون 2 pi r. بس هنا الراديوس بتاع الريد circle هو من أول هنا لحد هنا. This whole thing. يعني بكام الراديوس؟ If it's from here to there يعني 2r صح؟ ولا r واحدة؟ From here to there that's 2r. So بدل ال r actually المفروض احط مكان الراديوس 2r. بعدين if I'm checking the biggest circle اللي هي ال green one, this one الراديوس بتاعها is starting from here up until here يعني كل ال distance دي يعني كام r؟ يعني 3r. So the area so the circumference of it is 2 pi وبدل ال r هحط 3r. I already have the value of r فكل اللي هعمله على الكالكوليتر ان انا substitute each r ب 10 over 2 pi. بعدين اعمل الانسرز دي كلها بلس بعض. So here I'm supposed to go for 2 pi times 3. مكان ال r I'll put 10 over 2 pi. هنا في ال red one I'll put 2 pi times 2. مكان ال r I'll put 10 over 2 pi. This one is already ب 10. The blue one, the smallest one is already 10. So I'll just do 10 plus. هحسب الريد بكام على الكالكوليتر. It will turn to be 20. plus هحسب الجرين كام على الكالكوليتر and it will turn to become 30. So it's 10 plus 20 plus 30, which means that the answer is 60. Please, 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 please اسألوا. Yes. Part by part احنا محتاجين نبص على مش the whole thing مرة واحدة، نبص على حتة حتة. First of all اللي هو مديني البارامتر أو السيركمفرنس بتاعت أصغر واحدة فيهم اللي هي الزرقاء. وذن he asks me على ايه؟ هو بيسألني على البارامتر بتاع ال 3 of them all together التوتال بتاعهم كام. فهحاول اجيب البارامتر of the small one والcircumference يعني of the small one والcircumference of the bigger والcircumference of the biggest واعملهم الثلاثة بلس بعض. فالأول ابتديت بالبلو 1. البلو 1 المفروض يكون الcircumference بتاعها كام؟ 2 باي ار اهو. عشان الراديوس بتاعها بار فالcircumference المفروض يكون 2 باي ار. بعدين الريد المفروض يكون السيركمفرنس بتاعها كام؟ 2 باي بس بدل الار في 2 ار عشان الراديوس بتاعها بقى عباره عن 2 راديوس مش راديوس واحد. وبعدين الكبيره خالص ايه؟
2 ار ولا ممكن اعملها ار سكوير؟
لا مش ار سكوير لان هي مش ار تايمز ار عشان تبقى ار سكوير، هي 2 ار 2 ار بلس بعض صح؟ مش ار وار كمان يعني 2 ار صح؟ So it has to be إن مكان الراديوس أحط 2R while في الثيرد one الراديوس بتاعها هو من أول هنا لحد الآخر خالص. So that 3R كده اللي هي هنا هي 3R. حطيت مكان الراديوس 3R فجبت الراديوس السيركمفرنس ده والسيركمفرنس ده والسيركمفرنس ده عايز أعملهم بقى بلس بعض. لما جيت أعملهم بلس بعض كتبتهم بلس بعض لقيت الأول I needed to get الR بكام؟ جبت الR بكام من دي؟ ان 2 باي ار ب 10 فمعنى كده ان الراديوس الواحد ب 10 divided by 2 باي. I substituted الكلام ده على الكالكوليتر وهيطلع لي الانسر. بس again ask برضه. لا ask عادي ask keep asking. كده صح؟ طب لجينا واحمد وعمر. احمد لا مش مصدقك. ماشي مش مصدقك والله عشان انت ما بتتكلمش خالص ولا بتسأل، دي حاجة مش لطيفة. طيب نمبر 10. نمبر 10 بيقول لي rectangle has a length of 64 and might مش شغال. اوكي it's fine. Rectangle 10 has a length of 64, width of 48. Rectangle A, sorry, rectangle B has a length and a width that are both 3 over 4 times the length and the width. C has 3 over 4 times the length and the width of B. What's the parameter of C? هفضل أعملهم كده واحدة واحدة. So أدي A and B and C. It's important to organize بس things, okay? كان عندي هنا 64 and 48. Okay? So this one will be كام؟ 3 over 4 times 64 و 3 over 4 times 48. ممكن حد يحسبهم please؟ يقول لي النمبرز بس.
حضرتك عايز نحسب ايه؟
اللي مثلا يعني 3 over 4 times 64.
3 over 4 times 64.
لأن هو
48.
يس صح اوكي طيب و times 48.
3 over 4 times ايه؟ times 48.
يس
36.
So أنا كده جبت B. Again ليه عملت كده؟ هو بيقول لي rectangle B has a length and width 3 over 4 times the length and the width of rectangle A. فخدت الريكتانجل A أهو عملت ال 3 over 4 times المتجر بتاعه جاب لي ده، وخدت هنا 3/4 تايمز الويدث بتاعه اللي هو 48 جاب لي ده. and then السي نفس الكلام صح؟ so calculate the same thing 3/4 times دلوقتي بقى دي اللي هي ال 48 و 3/4 times ال 36 دي هتبقى بكام ودي هتبقى بكام؟
أول واحدة هتبقى 36.
اوكي.
تاني واحدة هتبقى 27.
27. هو عايز البارامتر بتاع سي. انا كده عندي اللينث وعندي الويدث. البارامتر هو 2 lengths plus 2 widths. لانه البارامتر is a shape like this length width and then length again and then width again. So it's 2 times the 36 plus 2 times the 27. That is the whole parameter of the shape.
ثانية كده. يبقى answer 126.
So 126 is supposed to be the answer, which is H. Thank you, Aru. Does this make sense يا جماعة؟ زينة you're back يا حبيبتي. Are you clear
أيوة.
باللي حصل ولا مش قوي؟
نعم.
Are you clear على اللي حصل ولا مش قوي؟ عشان عارف انك يعني رحتي ورجعتي فاهمة ولا مش قوي؟
يعني
عايزة تسأليني طيب؟
لا أنا فاهمة، بس أنا مش كده لما باجي أحل ساعات حاجات بتقع.
اوكي، ما هو انا عشان كده بقيت بحاول اقول الكي ووردز اوف ليه انا بعمل الحاجات. بس خلي بالك ان انا كل اللي عملته ان انا رتبتهم في الاول. I can see clearly ان في ريكتانجل A وريكتانجل B وريكتانجل C، ولازم اكتب فعلا عشان انا بس ارتب افكاري. وبعدين عملت اللي هو قال عليه. قال ريكتانجل B is 3/4 times the length and the width، فعملت 3/4 times the length بتاع A و 3/4 times the width بتاع A. جبت B، بعد ما جبت B جبت منها C، بعد كده قال لي عايز البارامتر فعملتها. فمش ببقى مش من الاول خالص انا عارف ان هو عايز البارامتر فبعمل something specific. لا، انا بابلاي اللي هو بيقوله step by step. قال لي 3/4 times ده عملته، 3/4 times ده عملته. And then he asked for the parameter. لقيت already عندي لنا length والwidth. So it was easy to find the parameter. فاهمة؟
أيوة.
This one, what's the area of the circle? أنا عشان أجيب ال area of the circle I need the radius mainly. If this is the center, then the distance دي كده قد إيه؟ مش ده يعتبر radius؟ ودي الx بتاعتها بنيجاتيف 3 والواي بتاعتها ب 4. So what's the distance من أول البوينت دي لحد الواي axis هنا كده اللي هو الراديوس ده؟ حد عارف؟ Nothing.
7.
هو اوكي، ممكن حد يقول لي النيجاتيف 3 وال4 دول مش دول x و y coordinates؟ طيب so what's the x coordinate of this point؟ نيجاتيف 3، يعني على الاكس هنا بكام؟ بنيجاتيف 3. المسافة دي كده قد ايه؟ من اول نيجاتيف 3 لحد الحتة دي، المسافة دي كده قد ايه؟ كام بوينت؟ كام كليك؟
2.
لا، count them again. 2
negative
2 ليه؟ هو مش نيجاتيف 3. يس، هو مش نيجاتيف 3 دي على الاكس. هو مش هنا يا جماعه على الاكس بزيرو. So 0 to negative 1 and then negative 1 to negative 2 and then negative 2 to 3. So how many units did we move كده؟ 3 units. يعني الراديوس هنا كام؟
3.
So what's the area? Pi 3 power 2 which is 9 pi. طيب ليه ما عملتش على الواي؟ لان الواي doesn't show me هي ends فين. يعني انا if I use the y coordinate اللي هي هنا ب 4، هو انا عارف كده ان من اول 0 لحد فوق دي 4، بس مش عارف من اول هنا لحد هنا بالظبط كده اللي هو اخر السيركل، مش هعرف دي بكام. So it was better to use ال x coordinate لان واضح ان السيركل بتتاتش ال y axis. So I can tell the distance دي كام، بس مش هعرف اجيب اللي بالطول كام. Does this make sense ولا لا؟
Yes.
This is a very important عامة question لأن هو easy one. So هو نفس الفكرة أو المشكلة بتاعت ال questions الأولانية دي. by the way you guys can't imagine إنه الاكس والواي كوردينتس دي ديستنس من عند الزيرو. يعني لما اجي اقول ان هنا البوينت دي الاكس بتاعتها ب 5 معناها ان من اول هنا لحد الحته دي بالظبط الحته دي 5. ولما اجي اقول ان هنا الكيو الاكس بتاعتها ب 8 يعني من اول هنا لحد كل الديستنس دي is 8. I can use the distance دي somehow بالطرق اللي انا عايزها. So that's exactly what happened here. لما هو يقول لي ان البوينت is negative 3 and 4 then الديستنس دي is 3. ليه ما قلتش برضو negative 3؟ لان مفيش ديستنس بالنيجاتيف. انا عايز طول. الطول عمره ما هيبقى بالنيجاتيف، الطول دايما بالبوزيتيف. وحتى if يعني you decided to take الراديوس الار على الراديوس على انه بنيجاتيف 3، لما تيجي تحطها في الرول بتاع باي ار سكوير المفروض تتحط نيجاتيف 3 باور 2 في براكت، فتطلع لي برضه بوزيتيف 9 باي مش تطلع لي نيجاتيف. بس ما ينفعش احط نيجاتيف في ديستنس لان مش منطقي الديستنس تكون بالنيجاتيف. Does this make sense ولا لا؟ برا ولولو زي ما قلت لها ايه واحمد.
Yes.
Finally this one. This is the shaded region. I know انتوا خلاص فرقرتوا. The shaded region دي this means ان انا هجيب ال area of the bigger one minus the area of the smaller one زي ما قلنا. So what I need to get is the area of the big rectangle ده كله اللي هو او ال big square ده من اول هنا لحد هنا كده. وبعدين هشيل منه this white region كلها. And that's how I get the area of the shaded region. So ايه الاريا بتاعت الكبير ده؟ لو الحته من اول هنا كده اهو لحد هنا دي ب 5 والحته دي كده ب 1 والحته دي كده ب 1 then the whole side كده is 7 apparently. sorry مش 7 ال whole side اللي بالعرض كده 7. this one 7. بس الناحيه الثانيه بقى اللي بالطول اللي هو من اول هنا كده لحد دي clearly ان انا عندي من اول فوق لحد البوينت دي بس هنا كده this is 5 وبعدين الديستنس الصغيره اللي هنا دي is 1. So the whole length اللي هو من اول هنا لحد هنا is not 5 it's 6. Does this make sense قبل ما اكمل؟
لا.
طيب ما عندوش دومتري يعني خالص تقريبا. اوكي هو مش الحته دي ب 5 اللي هو من اول البوينت دي لحد البوينت دي اللي اللينث ده كده ب 5 الطول ده. Is this clear for everyone؟ Yes. So من أول برضو هنا لحد الحتة دي كده بكام؟ حلو. طب بعدين الفرق الحتة الصغيرة الجراي اللي تحت اللي هو من أول هنا لحد هنا الحتة دي بكام؟
اوكي انا كده فهمت.
يس ب 1. الحتة الصغنطوطة اللي باقية هنا صغيرة دي ب 1. عندي 1 هنا و5 هنا يبقى الطول ده كله كده على بعضه قد إيه؟ 6. يس نفس الكلام.
بس حضرتك قلت في الاول دي 5 والثانيه 6 فعشان كده ما فهمتش.
لا ما انا ما هو ده لا مش سكوير هو ريكتانجل على فكره. هو الحته البلو اللي هنا دي قد الحته قد اللي قدامها الناحيه الثانيه يعني دي برضو بلو قدها بالظبط 6 برضو صح؟ ماشي. اللي بالاحمر بقى اللي هو الاذر سايد اللي هو this one حته من اول هنا اهو لحد هنا this is 5 بعدين في هنا 1 صغيره وفي هنا برضه 1 فيخلي السايد كله قد ايه 7 عشان كده دي برضه هنا قد ايه 7. Does this make sense؟ everyone؟ better شويه. احمد تمام كده؟ ماشي. طيب ولولو تمام؟
Yes.
طيب what's the area overall بقى of the whole shape؟ المفروض يكون 7 times 6. 7 times 6 على الكالكوليتر يطلع 42 صح؟ تهيألي. مهم. Yes. So what's the area of دلوقتي ده كده الاريا بتاعت الكبير. انا عايز اشيل بقى من الكبير ده ماينس الحته الشيدد اللي كانت بيضه في النص. الحته البيضه اللي انا عملتها دلوقتي بالريد اللي بالريد دي الاريا بتاعتها كام؟ سايد المفروض تايمز سايد which is 5 times 5 يعني 25. So 42 minus 25 على الكالكوليتر هيطلع لي 17 I guess. Yes. So this is the area of the shaded region. 17. Please ask.
مستر معلش ثانية واحدة عشان I got confused كده قوي.
تمام.
هو دلوقتي حضرتك عملت 5 times 5
ليه؟
مش 5 times 4
ايوه.
أو مش 5 times 4.
لا هو الاريا ايه؟ الاريا دول بتاعها ايه؟
length times width.
طيب حلو. سو شايفه الحته الاحمر اللي جوه في النص الشيدد اللي بالعرض دي؟ فين اللينث بتاعها؟ مش ده اللينث بتاعها؟ بكام؟
5.
طب والويدث بتاعها اهو بكام؟
5
So what's the area؟
كده
بعدين الكبير بقى كان هنا اهو دي ب7 ودي هنا كانت بكام؟ ب6 فعملت 7 times 6 وهو ده اللي جاب لي ال 42. شلت بقى من الكبير الصغير الاصفر. So that's how I got a shaded region. صح؟
اوكي اي انا فاهمه لغايه الحته دي بس حضرتك قلت 25 ان قبل
مرة واحدة.
انا كان غلطت اللي هو 5 times 5 times 5 times 5.
ايوه ماشي. لا ده كان بارامتر 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 ده بارامتر مش ده البلس ده السم. انما دي هنا اريا عشان كده عملت ده تايمز ده. شور؟
اوكي.
موست ويلكم. بليز يا حبايبي فين ان ذا اكزيت تيكت وسوري ان انا طولت عليكم النهارده وبليز let me know في الاكزيت تيكت كليرلي ايه المشكله عشان next class I'm supposed to either repeat موضوع الجيومتري according to what you say او look out for better questions او حاجه. You have a homework which is the remaining forms of the test الموجودين which are P1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. They're on the same form. يعني please try to do as many of them as possible because next class I want to solve them with you. بس
مستر طبعا كان عندي questions في الهوم ورك اللي فات.
ما هو انا عايز كنت ابتدي الكلاس اللي جاي بالهوم ورك اللي فات وبعدين نحل. انت عملت انهي حاجات الهوم ورك؟ اصل هم دول على فكره المفروض بتوع المره اللي فاتت نزود عليهم اسئله بس. صح؟
انا عملت الاثنين بس هو في questions معينه
اللي هو بي كام وبي كام؟ 3 و 4؟ اقول لك انا
في 2 و 3.
2 و 3 سوري اوكي. بس انت لو لقيتهم اصلا هتلاقيهم لسه في نفس الاساينمنت بتاعت النهارده يبقى انا كنت هشرحهم النهارده وبعدين هنحل احنا 4 و5 فاهم؟ فانت حل 4 و5 سيب اللي انت ما عرفتهمش او اللي انت حليتهم خلاص ما تحلهمش تاني وانا نكست كلاس كده كده هحل كل اللي فاتوا وهنحل بقى زياده عليهم فاهم؟
ماشي.
شور؟ everyone are we good ولا في اي حاجه؟
لا we're done.
Thank you يا حبايبي. I sent you again as I told you the exit ticket. I'll upload the recording once